Hey everyone, Wrath of the Lich King is finally announced, and this means that we all need to start preparing ahead of its release. I'll do a proper preparation guide video in the future, but for now I wanted to go over the things that will actually get fully removed with the release of Wrath, so that we can all start looking into obtaining or completing them before the end of Burning Crusade. Be it mounts, items, titles, events, and much more, Blizzard took away quite a lot of stuff from vanilla and TBC with the release of Wrath. And today we're gonna go through some of these things together so that you can get working on them right away if you haven't completed or obtained them already. So without further ado, let's get into it. To start off, let's talk about Champion of the Naaru and Hand of Adal. These titles originally were made available in TBC and were then removed with the release of Wrath of the Lich King and turned into Feat of Strength achievements. Well, at least their respective quests stopped rewarding them. The quest lines for these are still in the game till this day, even in retail. But there is one small trick you can do to obtain these even in Wrath, but we'll get to that in a minute. Let's start with Champion of the Naaru. We actually made an in-depth guide on how to obtain this title if you want to watch that, but here's the short version of it. To obtain this title, you need to complete the achievement quest tied with two different raids, Serpentine Cavern and Tempest Keep. It all starts in Shadowmoon Valley from your faction's hub. The first quest is called the Hand of Gul'dan. This will have you go through a long and epic journey which will see you kill Cyrug the Fire Lord at the very end. You may need some help at different parts of this, especially at the end. After that, you'll need to complete the Trials of the Naaru quests. 3 of them will have you complete Shadow Labs, Steam Vault, Alcatraz, and Shattered Halls on heroic difficulty. And the last one will have you kill a raid boss, Mechtheridon. Finally, you'll need to sneak into Slave Pens to complete the last quest, which has you kill Nightbane in Karazhan and Gruul in Gruul's lair. With that, you'll obtain the prestigious Champion of the Naaru title. The Hand of Adal title is a bit more straightforward, but equally epic. For this, all you need to do is complete the Vials of Eternity quest, which you can pick from Sori Dormi in Caverns of Time. For this, you'll need to kill Lady Vash in Serpentine Cavern and Kel'Thas in Tempest Keep. Thankfully, those two bosses, and all the other bosses in those raids in fact, have been nerfed quite intensively in the past. So you should have no issues getting into a raid and killing them. And that's all you need to do for those two prestigious unobtainable titles. Now, here's the thing. People in retail till this day who played TBC back in the day are still managing to obtain these titles, even in Shadowlands. The reason for this? Having any of the quests in this quest chain in your quest log already. Apparently, instead of actually removing the title as a reward from the quests, Blizzard created new quests with the same names and objectives and replaced the old ones on the quest givers. So if you have any of the old quests from this chain in your quest log, you should be able to get this even in Wrath. So you could do that if you want, but I would do this now in TBC rather than later in Wrath, because very few people will be doing Kara or Mechtheridon or SSC or TK in Wrath, and you're way more likely to find people to do these raids now in TBC instead of during Wrath. Moving on, the next thing that gets removed with the release of Wrath of the Lich King is the Amani War Bear. This was added quite recently with Phase 4 and will be removed from the Zul'Aman timed event once Wrath releases. To obtain this, you need to kill the first 4 bosses of Zul'Aman in less than 45 minutes. The timer actually starts at 20 minutes, but you get 25 more minutes by killing the first and second boss. The good news is, the vast majority of players that do Zul'Aman in Classic TBC nowadays manage to make the timer quite easily. The bad news, however, is you're not likely to be invited if your gear is very bad. People who form ZA raids actually aim to do it fast and guaranteed amount, so they typically only take people who have a minimum of gear to pull their own weight, be it in healing, DPS, or tanking. So if you made it to 70 recently, I would look into getting yourself some gear first before stepping into ZA. We actually have a video on the channel covering just that if you want to watch it. The other good news is that ZA is on a 3-day timer instead of the typical 7 days, so that's way more chances to obtain it. But yeah, over time, as Sunwell releases and people get more and more gear, obtaining this mount should get easier and easier. It's already pretty easy as is and will only get better from here. And as Wrath is close to releasing, you should see more and more people getting interested in this mount and forming raids for it. So if you don't have it already and want it, start joining ZA raids every time time it resets, and you'll get it in no time. Next up, as you probably know, with the release of Wrath of the Lich King, we get one iconic raid re-released, Naxxramas, which means that the old version of Naxxramas also gets removed, along with all the items, quests, and gear you can get from it. Well, at least most of it gets updated to level 70, but a lot of appearances will go away with Nax 40. Probably the most iconic of which is obviously the corrupted Ashbringer, a very famous weapon which drops from the 4 horsemen only in original Nax 40. This weapon, which will be transmoggable in Cataclysm, just like every item we're gonna mention here, is also quite rare. I think I've only seen it once or twice, and I did Nax 40 like every reset in Classic. So you will have to be very lucky and very patient to get this if you're after it. And it's not unlikely that you'll never see it drop before Wrath releases, so the choice is yours really. The other iconic thing that drops from Naxxramas is of course the tier 3 set. Dreadnought, Bonsite, Plagueheart, there's a lot of really cool sets that drop in Nax 40. Unfortunately, Blizzard decided to update their models in Wrath, and honestly, I prefer the old ones. Not just because they're more rare, but simply because they look straight up better. Obtaining a full set between now and the release of Wrath should be way more feasible than getting corrupted Ashbringer. Still, you'll probably have to do quite a bunch of runs of Nax if you want to complete a full set, because there's 8 pieces, remember. Also, remember that you need to spend quite a lot of gold to get each one of those pieces. Each one of them requires a certain amount of cloths, hides, Nexus crystals, or Arcanite bars, and those I feel will go up in price the closer we get to Wrath. Another iconic item is the legendary staff Atiesh, which also gives a feat of strength achievement in Wrath. Having Atiesh is not only cool for bragging rights, but also useful. You can create a portal to Karazhan with it at any moment, getting you close to the southern part of Eastern Kingdom very fast, especially if you're Horde. Again, Atiesh will require a lot of weeks of clearing Nax, especially if you're competing for splinters with other players. Also, remember that Nax has an attunement of its own. If you're exalted with Argent Dawn, you don't need to worry about anything, but the minimum you need to be to get attuned is Honored, and you'll need to spend some gold, Arcane Crystals, Nexus Crystals, and Righteous Orbs to complete the attunement quest for Nax, to even set foot into it. Again, I expect all of these things to go up in price the closer we get to Wrath. But yeah, whether you're looking for tier 3, Corrupted Ashbringer, Atiesh, or anything else, start doing Nax right now, before it's too late. The other raid going away with Wrath is Onyxia's Lair 40-man. Thankfully for this one, we have quite a lot of time before it's removed, and we're not losing many things as with Nax 40. Back in the day in Wrath, to honor the 5-year anniversary of WoW, Blizzard decided in patch 3.2.2, which was a month or so after the release of Trial of the Crusader, to update Onyxia and make it a level 80, 10-man or 25-man raid, with current level items too. Now, as I said, there's actually very little that we lost with the re-release of Onyxia. All the original transmogs were kept intact. If you were a hunter, you could still obtain Rock the Larb because the mobs outside the raids dropped the Black Sinew, and even the original tier 2 helmets were moved to Nefarian, if I remember correctly. Mainly, what we lost is the Quel'Serrar questline. Quel'Serrar is a stunning looking tanking sword obtainable by warriors and paladins from vanilla. You can still obtain a replica of it in updated Onyxia, so if you're only interested in the transmog, that's it. But if you want the original sword itself, and to complete the questline for it, you'll have to do it before Onyxia re-releases midway through Wrath. So yeah, Onyxia is way less important to do than Nax 40, simply because all she gives is still obtainable in its re-released version with the exact same models. Still, if you want to obtain the actual original items like Quel'Serrar or even the original Viscag or Deathbringer, you could do it if you really want to before it gets re-released. You may be able to even solo Onyxia 40 honestly in Wrath, so there's no rush. Next up, here's one small thing I wanted to mention because it gets turned into a feat of strength, but this item on its own is useless in every way in Wrath. The Eternal Quintessence, to douse the runes of the Fire Lords in Molten Core. In Wrath of the Lich King, Blizzard made it so that you don't need to douse those runes anymore to summon Major Domo and of course Ragnaros itself. All you need to do is kill the bosses and the runes get doused automatically on their own. So this item became sort of a relic of the past, and Blizzard decided to make it a feat of strength, the 5th element. If you want this, you need to complete a quest line which has you first kill some elementals around Azeroth, then kill a few trash mobs in Molten Core, reach Honored with Hydraxian Warlords, and finally kill each of Lucifron, Gehennas, Shazra, and Sulfuron to finally receive the Alcohol Quintessence. To receive the Eternal one, which isn't necessary to get for the achievement, you need to reach Revered. Last but not least, one thing that you need to prepare for and complete before it's gone is the Wrath of the Lich King pre-patch event. Obviously, Blizzard announced that Death Knights will be available during pre-patch, so already, all we just mentioned in this video, you may want to consider obtaining it during the pre-patch on your Death Knight. Be it Corrupted Ashbringer, the Hand of Adal or Champion of the Naru titles, the Amani War Bear, and whatnot. That's one thing. But pre-patch also introduces a plethora of items that will get removed as soon as the event ends, the most iconic of which is the Arcanite Ripper, a unique looking axe that basically looks like a guitar. The on-use effect on it is the coolest part, because it turns you into a blood elf that plays the guitar. The other item, or items, obtainable from this event is the Blessed Battle Gear of Undead Slaying. This is a unique color for this set, and this transmog was never added back to the game ever since this event. I strongly suggest getting this because Cataclysm adds transmogs, and you don't want to miss having this on your collection tab. Finally, the last item from the pre-patch is the Vampiric Battling. This is just a bat pet, but remember that Wrath adds pet tabs, so this won't take any space in your bags and you may want it for collection's sake. So yeah, the pre-patch adds a lot of unique and cool looking items to the game that will unfortunately get removed after the event is over. If the TBC pre-patch is anything to go with, we shouldn't expect this event to last very long. So make sure to get all these items if you want them in time before they're removed forever. And that's pretty much everything that gets removed with the release of Wrath of the Lich King. I'm sure I'm forgetting some things though, so if you can think of anything like this, please drop it in the comments to benefit your fellow Classic WoW players. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, remember to give it a like and subscribe to the Classic WoW Curios channel for more content like this. My name is Numidia, and I will see you guys in the next one very soon. Bye for now.